What's up guys, it's your boy Dekkster here, and we have a handful of new cards to talk about, and some of them are actually really good. Really excited about this expansion. Power level is through the roof, compared to Boomsday especially. As usual, I'll be doing a out of 5 review sort of thing at the end. If you want to skip to that, link will be in the description below, but let's go ahead and jump into it. So we got Saronite Taskmaster, a 1-mana 2/3 with the Death Rattle, summon a 0/3 free agent with taunt for your opponent. This is incredibly overstated with the drawback of this Death Rattle, which will give your opponent a 0/3 token that has taunt. Stats are obviously similar to Zombie Chow, which saw a lot of play, Gravel Snout Knight, which saw no play, and then Emerald Hive Queen also didn't see much play. And I don't know, I feel like it's better for aggro decks than Zombie Chow was. Usually a 0/3 token for your opponent is not going to be a big deal unless they're also running an aggro list. So if you play aggro versus aggro, this is not going to be nearly as good as if you're playing this against control. Because yeah, once your opponent deals with this, what's a 0/3 taunt gonna do? Hopefully by turn 2, turn 3, you could just smack that with 1 minion and, you know, just continue smacking them in the face. So I feel like this would be used in most just like token lists, maybe like an odd Paladin that's trying to flood the board and buff up their tokens. That's great. Maybe there ends up being another token druid, which this would be great in. Maybe even Zoo. I'm not sure you would want to run this in Zoo, mostly because Zoo just has a strong core. Like I wouldn't want to run this in the current version of Zoo. As opposed to Odd Paladin, I would consider messing around with this thing. Another good thing maybe to consider is if you play this, your opponent eventually deals with it, and you really don't want to mess with that taunt, you can kind of just flip it with a Void Ripper. That might be a waste of a Void Ripper, but I mean, it's definitely an option. Maybe there's some sort of synergy here between somehow letting this die, giving your opponent a token, and then stealing something with an MC tech. But yeah, all in all, you kind of got to decide if this is worth running over something like a Crystallizer or a Dire Mole. You do get 1 more attack, but that Death Rattle is kind of, it's a decent drawback. It's not terrible, but it's something to consider if it's really worth getting that 1 extra damage. We got High Priest Thekal, which is such an amazing card. The new Paladin legendary 3-mana 3/4. Beautiful stats, especially considering its effect, which is a battle cry, convert all but 1 of your hero's health into armor. One of the main issues with Heal Paladin actually, you know, coming into fruition has been just that you don't take damage in your face early game, and if you're playing against something control, you're not going to take damage. So by using this, you can convert all your health into armor, which allows you to heal back up. Plus, if you want a bounce effect on here, if you want to Zola this thing or whatever, you can get another one of these, and if you manage to heal up, you just play this again. And healing up is going to be really easy because we're going to have cards like Kangor, we're going to have Benevolent Jinn, we're going to have Ziliax, Shirvala as well, Corpse Taker, and of course, you know, Uther with the Lifesteal weapon. So it's going to be relatively easy to heal back up. So really excited about this thing. Also, we got Crystallizer. Maybe you run Crystallizer in this deck. And you can, you know, hurt yourself a little bit earlier just so you can heal that back up as well. So Heal Paladin starting to look very, very strong. I am really pumped about this. Definitely want to be playing some Heal Paladin in the future. Also, if you're a wild player, this might be a little bit nutty with Molten Giant, giving it an extreme discount. I don't play much wild, but this might be something to keep your eye on. I think if you're running any heal in your Paladin deck, this thing might actually be just a staple. 3-mana 3/4, once again, beautiful stats. I think this thing would still be super good as a 3-mana 2/4 just because of that insane battle cry. But yeah, loving this card. One of the best we've seen so far this expansion. Then we got Lickem, which is hilarious. 2-mana 1/3 weapon here for Shaman that has +2 attack while you have overloaded mana crystals. Now this should work on the turn you actually overload your crystals, and then the next turn it should still be triggered. So you get 2 turns per overload. So maybe turn 2, you slam this down and you zap something. So you're gonna do 2 damage with your zap, and then you're also gonna have this as a 3/3 for this turn and for the next turn. Now, do you really wanna be playing this on turn 2 when you might not be overloading that turn? I think you might, but sometimes you just want to totem instead. I don't know, maybe this has its place in Even Shaman, but Even Shaman doesn't really run much of an overload package. Maybe they're going to want to throw in Beaker Lightnings and Zaps. We'll have to see. Maybe they even add more overload spells. I see this thing fitting pretty well in Burn Shaman that I've been playing. Well, I'd mess around with it. I'm not sure it'd be a staple, but it could be pretty fun in a Burn Shaman. And then Shutterwalk, not going to be bad. Shutterwalk doesn't really run weapons, but this would be a great board control tool. If you manage to Lightning Storm your opponent's board and it just doesn't kill one minion, this will have 3 attack and hopefully you can clean up. Also works with the Volcano. So yeah, pretty decent in Shutterwalk. Not sure it's going to be a staple or anything, but I really like the flavor of this card. Hoping they release a few more Overload Shaman cards here. But yeah, really liking the direction of this. I'm really excited to see the rest of the Shaman cards to see if this thing is actually viable. But in current lists, you might still run it in current lists once again. All right, so we got Revenge of the Wild, a 2-mana hunter spell. Summons all your beasts that died this turn. This card just seems broken, man. Like, especially with Death Rattle Hunter, the way they're built right now. This is gonna be great. Maybe you pull out a high main, your high main dies, and you just spend 2 mana to pull another high main, 2 mana for a 6/5. Like, this is insane. You don't need to do this on a huge board. Flark's Boomzooka is one thing everyone's been talking about. Yeah, 10 mana combo, you Boomzooka, you pull some big boys out of your deck. They're gonna die, whatever, you don't care, because you Revenge of the Wild and you bring them back. That's insane. Summoning 3 minions from your deck, of course, huge value, but you don't need that. Maybe your opponent has a big board, you unleash the hounds, you kill off all your hounds, and then you bring them back. So this is like a second Unleash the Hounds for a 1 mana discount. 5 mana to Unleash the Hounds, pretty dang good. And then, of course, you don't gotta try and get insane value. Maybe you have a Devilsaur on board, maybe it dies, you just bring it back for 2 mana. Or maybe you have a Huffer that pushes through a taunt and you just bring back another Huffer for 2 mana. That's still good enough value. You don't have to be very greedy with this, but the fact that there's that flexibility makes me really excited for this. I mean, you can have a Grizzly down and you can cube the Grizzly and then use this to summon the Grizzly back. So you're gonna have the cubed Grizzly, and then you're also gonna have a fresh new Grizzly with full health. You can do this thing with Devilsaurs. Maybe you have a Devilsaur that sticks on the board, or Crush or High Main, and you just cube it and then Revenge of the Wild. God dang, this is nutty. This is nutty. Extra juicy, this card. This one gets an extra juicy from me. All right, so we got Mass Contender, neutral epic minion here. 3 mana 2/4 with the battle cry. If you control a secret, play a secret from your deck. Now, obviously, this is going to be good in Secret Hunter. Turn 1, you Secret Keeper. Turn 2, you drop a Secret. Turn 3, you drop a Mass Contender. I don't think that's going to buff your Spellstone. So if you're banking on this buffing up your Spellstone, not going to happen, but it should buff your Secret Keeper a little bit, which should feel pretty good. But Hunter does have a lot of good 3-drops that you might want to play instead of this. Once again, Animal Companion or Bear Shark, Eagle Horn Bow. There's a lot of good stuff in that 3 slot. It's also very possible that your opponent pops your secrets before you can play this guy, but that might be good news for you. Maybe you play a Wandering Monster on 2, and your opponent would usually dance around it, not hit it right away, but now there might be a reason to hit it right away, because if they don't, you're gonna get another secret just pulled out of your deck. So if you can get value out of this thing, it's going to be great. But I see it mostly in Hunter, maybe in Mage as well. Mage, you get some decent value because Mage secrets are 3 mana. So this would be pulling out a 3 mana card, just playing it right away. That's pretty great, as opposed to a Hunter where it's just a 2 mana secret, which is still good value. It might just be better in Hunter, because Mage, I don't know, there's no secret Mage anymore, unless they add more Mage secrets, and this secret, maybe this makes Secret Mage a thing again? Don't think you want this thing in Paladin. Why would you want to run this in Paladin? Pulling out a 1 mana secret just doesn't seem worth to me. It doesn't go there. And then if we're thinking Rogue, I don't think Rogue has enough secrets to warrant playing this either. So this is going to be like a Hunter or a Mage card. And once again, should not upgrade Spellstone. So that might be rough. I'm not sure if I'd want to run this in Secret Hunter over just having a Subject 9 to kind of pull all your cards out, but it'd be something to mess around with for sure. It'd be pretty fun. All right, so we got Gurubashi Hypemon. A rogue epic card here. 7 mana, big card. 7 mana, 5/7 though, bad stats. And then we get the Battlecry. Discover a 1/1 copy of a Battlecry minion, and it costs 1. So I guess it's going to be similar to the Sonya putting a 1 mana 1/1 copy. And it is discovering a Battlecry minion, and there are a lot of Battlecry minions out there. So I think you have a really low chance of getting the card you actually want. It's got to be like 5% or lower. I mean, I think the nuttiest thing would be pulling the Shark Loa. If you can play that thing for, 1 mana, that'd be nuts. That'd be great. But I don't think that's going to happen often. And I don't think you really want to bank on that being your plan. There's just too much randomness here. If it was a combo minion, you're more likely to pull a good combo minion. So that would be very good. But maybe you'd get too many Vilespine Slayers or something like that. But yeah, at this stat line, 7 mana 5/7, it doesn't have taunt or anything. I don't think it's very good. Of course, you can combo it with the Spirit, where your Battlecries proc twice. So this would be a 7 mana 5/7, and you get 2 Discovers, which would be not bad. And then you can play those discovered guys and get even more value. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna sleep on this card. I don't think it's that great. It's a little too slow, and the game plan is just, it's not good. There's too much randomness. Too slow, unreliable card. Pretty garbage, I think. And there's just some really bad battle cries that you don't want. So yeah, pretty bad rogue card. But you know what a good rogue card is Walk the Plank, a 4 mana spell here that destroys an undamaged minion. So similar to Backstab, has to be placed on something that has no damage. If you Fan of Knives, you draw this thing, unfortunately, you're probably not going to be able to use it on anything. Now, this would be interesting in decks that don't want to run Vilespine, but they do want to destroy minions. I guess something like a Malygos Rogue. This might have a good spot there. Obviously, Vilespine is odd, so maybe this can be run in a even rogue if that does end up becoming a thing. And yeah, I think this is going to be played in place of Vilespine once Vilespine rotates. Good right now, but even better after rotation. A lot of times your opponent's just going to drop a big boy on the board. Crush. Maybe they drop a Malygos. Maybe they drop a Lich King, and you just want to destroy it. It's not going to have any damage on it. You just want to destroy it. You don't necessarily want to sap it, although sap would be great as well. You just want to... Actually, this is going to be really annoying. Unlike an even rogue, they just sap things. You finally get it down. Oh, they're out of saps. Thank goodness. Nope. They walk the plank. They're done. Wow, that's going to be it's going to be wild. But yeah, I mean, if you're playing like a tempo rogue, I don't think you're going to want this thing. You'd rather just have Vilespines because of the power of comboing that out, destroying a minion, undamaged or not, and then also getting the 3/4 body. But if your deck does have restrictions where you're even, you might want to run this, or you just don't want to run that many minions, you don't have the room for Vilespine, maybe you run this. All right, we got Soup Vendor, a neutral 2 mana 1/4 rare card, where whenever you restore 3 or more health to your hero, you draw a card. Drawing cards is great, but this stat line is not. Like, it'd be good against Odd Paladin or something like that, but this is pretty weak. And restoring 3 health is a little bit awkward. Of course, you can kind of use it in a benevolent Djinn heal Paladin list. Heal Paladin does seem like it's going to be a thing. So if you're running Djinns, do you even want to run this? Because I feel like that's the best situation. Maybe turn 1, you Crystallizer. Turn 2, you Soup Vendor. Turn 3, you Benevolent Djinn. That's pretty good. That's not bad. But yeah, I don't know if it's really worth when you can kind of just wait and maybe run a Lay on Hands or something like that instead and just get 3 card draws all at once later on in the game. Just seems like a weak card. If the stats were better, might be considerable. I don't know. Would we even want a 2 mana 2/3 out of this? Would that make it playable? I don't think so. Just seems this seems bad. Obviously can't be run in Odd Priest, so yeah, I can only see this thing being used with a Djinn. All right, so we got Blast Wave here, Mage Epic Spell, 5 mana, and deals 2 damage to all minions with the Overkill. Add a random mage spell to your hand. This is very flavorful. It's really cool. It's only 2 damage though, so your targets have to have less than 2 health in order to trigger the Overkill. And the Overkill will trigger for each specific minion that you overkill. So if they have a board full of dudes and you play this, you can get 7 random mage spells back in your hand. Which when that happens, it's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be great. But the thing is, it's only 2 damage, and you're probably not gonna see a lot of odd paladins. I just feel like that deck's gonna fall out. So dealing 2 just might not be too good. You're probably gonna need spell power to back this thing up. Maybe it goes in an odd mage list where you're running black cats. So this will do 3 damage to all minions, which is a lot better. But I feel like usually it's not going to overkill. It's just going to kill things. Very similar to Holy Nova as far as 5 mana deal 2 damage, although Holy Nova would heal your side of the board. Holy Nova does not see much play, but this overkill is rather good. I can see this being ran in lists that are running Dragon's Fury, just so it has that extra consistency of at least doing 5 damage to everything. So yeah, I don't know. Not too pumped on this one. I do see the potential, and this thing does synergize great with spell damage. But once again, 2 damage is pretty weak. And if you're not going to add spell damage to your deck, you might be better off just running the Dragon's Furies and Flame Strikes and stuff like that. We got Rabble Bouncer, a 7 mana 2/7 common card with taunt, and it costs 1 less for each enemy minion. This just seems bad. I keep using Odd Paladin as an example because that's like the biggest board flood deck, and I guess like the best case scenario. Let's say they have a board full of 7 dudes. This is going to be a 0 mana 2/7, and yeah, that's pretty good. That's not bad. 0 mana 2/7, that's great. But usually your opponent's going to have 3, 4 guys. So if your opponent has 3 guys, this will be 4 mana. If your opponent has 4 guys, this will be 3 mana. So 4 mana 2/7, that's pretty good. A 3 mana 2/7. That's nice. That's nice. But if it's 3 mana 2/7, that means they have 4 dudes on board, and you would rather use an MC tech to steal one of their guys, and also develop a 3 mana 3/3. So I don't think this is gonna see any play like at all. This seems very bad. It's just there to weaken evolve maybe, because why would you run this over MC Tech? And then also, like, if your opponent has a bunch of cheap dudes on the board, maybe Mossy Horror is just a better play. But if a token deck does become very popular, maybe this will be a decent tech choice. But I think this is just not very good. Speaking of not very good, we got Amani War Bear here, a 7 mana 5/7 beast with Russian taunts. I think obviously there's the Undasta synergy here, where you can pull out an extra beast here, saving yourself 7 mana, I guess. But the stat line is just so bad. 7 mana 5/7. Maybe if it was a 5/8 or something like that, then it might be playable. 5/9. I don't know. Like the rush, you obviously want to use this to smack something. It just seems like there's other things you want to be doing with your mana around turn 7 than just smacking something with 5 health. Maybe it has a place in like Odd Quest Warrior. It is a taunt. It is odd. And of course it can interact with the board immediately. It's not terrible. Maybe Undasta also has its place there. And it is rush, so you can kind of pull it out with a Town Crier or something like that. But overall, very, very weak card here. I don't think this thing's gonna see play. I feel like there's just not much to say about this thing. Like you can throw it in Death Rattle Hunter just because it's a big beast and you can pull beasts. You can combo it with that new 2 mana spell that would bring this back. I guess that would be pretty decent. It'd be 9 mana. You can get 2 of these if they end up dying, right? Or you could Flark's Boomzooka this thing out. No, I think it is bad. You'd just rather run other things. Actually, it's kind of similar to a Devilsaur, 7 mana 7/7, but being played from the hand, right? Because if you pull it out of your deck, that thing has charge. But this, you pull it out of your deck, it just has rush, and you're losing 2 attacks. So yeah, Devilsaur is better, right? Yeah, I think so. So that's about it, guys. That was a quick one. Gonna be doing some more, so there'll be another one tomorrow. Keep your eye out. We're about to jump into the out of 5 ratings. Good luck on ladder, guys. Stay hydrated. If you celebrate Thanksgiving, hope you have a great Thanksgiving. Have a good time with your family, and we'll see you next time.